Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, hosted by Organization Development and Change, Workforce Education Development Program at Penn State. This is a monthly webinar series presented during your lunch hour. My name is Yulin Chang, and I am a PhD candidate in Workforce Education and Development Program at Penn State University. In terms of our interactive format for this webinar, please use the chat feature in the Zoom platform. If you have any questions about the presentation, please use chat feature on Zoom. You can see the chat button at the bottom of the screen. The Q&A session will be at the end of the presentation. Our online Master of Professional Studies in Organization Development and Change are designed for professionals who need the skills and knowledge to effectively lead change in their organization. Furthermore, there's a PhD program in Workforce Education and Development with a concentration in Human Resource Development and Organization Development. Our program has created a continuous monthly webinar series with experts around the world. Today, we are presenting Agentic Career Leadership and Organization Development, a systems evidence-based approach presented by Dr. Hyungjun Yoon. Dr. Hyungjun Yoon is an associate professor and professor in charge of the Workforce Education and Development Program at Pennsylvania State University. His scholarly work is focused on empowering individuals and organizations with human agency and hope. He developed the Human Agency-Based Individual Transformation, HABIT model, and the Assessment of Human Agency, AHA, and co-developed Hope Action Theory and associated measures. He's a fellow of the National Career Development Association, NCDA, and served as an associate editor of Human Resource Development Review. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our speaker today. Dr. Yoon, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Yulin. Nice to meet you, everyone. As I was introduced by Yulin, my name is Hyungjun Yoon, and I go by June. Typically, my main role is to work as a professor at Penn State, but this summer I have another role, which is Vice President for Talent and Organization Development at a company in South Korea. So during this summer, my main work is to train executives and their leaders to be more agentic, and also to be career coaching related or career coaching oriented leaders while making participative organizational change. So that's my main mission in this summer. And the role is somewhat related to the presentation topic for today. Here, these are some of the objectives for today. First, once you pay attention to this session, and once you complete this session, you will be able to explain Albert Bandura's human agency theory and its translated models. There will be several models that I will be sharing. And second, you should be able to discuss the importance of individuals' hopeful career state. So this is about how hopeful employees or individuals are for their career leadership and organization development. And the third, you will be able to assess the current state of their your own career leadership and organization development practices. I hope that you can brainstorm some of the ideas regarding the practices that you pursue in your organization or professional context. Finally, I hope that you can plan for creating an integrative, agentic career leadership and organization development mechanism in your settings, hopefully And as you noticed some words are repeating, like career, leadership, organization development. So in short, I call it as ACLAD. So Agentic, career, leadership, and organization development. So I will get to that soon. So before I move on to the next slide, I'd like to share the concept of human agency, because this entire presentation is related to or oriented toward human agency. So I'd like to ask you a question regarding what human agency means. You can use maybe the chat and you can answer my question. What is human agency in your understanding? I will give a pause a little bit because thinking about it is important. Anyone has an idea, you can type. I will wait a little bit. When we use the term human agency, what do you mean by that? And it feels scholarly. I know that some of you, or many of you, are practitioners, but knowing about it, in my opinion, it's important. So maybe let me explain. In plain term, human agency is the characteristics of people who achieve what they desire. Again, characteristics of people who achieve what they desire. So it can be related to getting things done, achieving what you want to achieve. And according to Albert Bandura, the definition of human agency is the capacity to exercise control over the nature and quality of one's life. The capacity to exercise control over the nature and quality of one's life. So yeah, everyone, including you, has human agency to make things happen, to change the course of your life and your environment and so on. So that's the main message or main content of this presentation. But my direction is to link that to career development, leadership development, and organization development, and present an integrated way. Maybe one way, there can be many different ways, but one potential solution to integrate all three components, like career development, leadership development, organization development. Let's see. Let me show you how I started this journey. About 15 years ago, my colleagues, Dr. Spencer Niles and Noam Amundsen, I started developing a theory which is now called as Hope Action Theory, integrating three different theories. First is Snyder's Hope Theory. Second, Albert Bandura's Human Agency Theory, which I just talked about. And third, Douglas Hall's Career Meta Competencies. Integrating all these by synthesizing these components, we created Hope Action Theory, which you can see here. So we call it as pinwheel model. So it starts with self-reflection, then self-clarity, which is an outcome of self-reflection. Then we move on to visioning. So visioning should be based on self-clarity. And then once you have a vision, then you can set goals and plans to achieve that vision. Then you can find a way to translate those goals and plans into action that's implementing. Then in most cases, things do not go as planned. So that's where adapting is needed. Then you go back to self-reflection And while doing so, you interact with the environment. So there is a bidirectional arrows. So if you want to learn more about this model, yeah, you can check out these references. And there are some books as well. So these books are related to career development. There are some example career development interventions for individuals. But what I'm going to share is more than individual career development, because it's about leadership development as well as organization development. This model that I'm sharing with you is developed by myself based on Albert Bandura's human agents theory. So you will see some similarities between hope action theory and this one. So I put agent at the center, because each one of you is an agent. And also each human system is an agent. What I mean by human system is that any entity that involves human beings would be human system. So a group or team or organization and society, nation, all those can be considered as agent. If that's not a single individual, then that would be a group of individuals, then that's a collective entity or collective agent. So regardless whether that's individual agent or collective agent, we interact with the environment. So that's why there's bidirectional arrows. And the beauty of Albert Bandura's human agents theory is that these the 4 core features of agency that Bandura conceptualized can be applied to individuals, organizations, groups, etc. So yeah, self-reflectiveness can be considered as self-reflection and self-clarity, or thinking about your life pursuits and so on. Forethought is about thinking about your future possibilities and consequences of or outcomes of your intended action. And intentionality is to being mindful of your intentions when you take an action, or even before you take an action. And self-reactiveness is reacting to your intention, which is to translate your intentions into your action and monitoring your goals or plans so that those are met. So initially, Albert Bandura explained the 4 core features of agency with intentionality, forethought, self-reactiveness, and then self-reflectiveness. I simply reordered those to start with self-reflectiveness, then forethought, then intentionality, and so on. The rationale is that in career development practice, training and development practice, or organization development practice, we all start with some sort of assessment. So that's why I repositioned self-reflectiveness into the first step. And then going right into goal setting may not be as effective as going through visioning first, thinking about future possibilities and so on. So that's why I put forethought next, then intentionality and self-reactiveness. And I created this as a cyclical process. So if you want to learn more about this model and how that could be used for career development, training development, leadership development, organization development, yeah, you can take a look at this article that I just shared with you. Then I wanted to share how this model, habit model, is relevant to social cognitive theory, which is also Bandura's. So the full name of his human agents theory, Albert Bandura's human agents theory, is social cognitive theory of human agency, because that's the full name. So this is a very popular diagram that depicts the essence of social cognitive theory. So Albert Bandura saw that each individual has cognition as well as behavior, and they constantly interact with the environment. Okay, so there's bidirectional arrows. And it is called a triadic reciprocal causation because those are all interrelated and you exchange influence. So here our moderator is Yuling, and Yuling has cognition and behavior. And to her, I can be in the environment, okay? Or sometimes I interact with a group of people or an organization, and that becomes environment. Or my family can be my environment, things like that. So how this habit model is relevant to this triadic reciprocal causation model is that, as you can see, there is a environment here. So I depicted the agent constantly interacts with the environment. And then self-reflectiveness is about a cognitive process. It involves cognition. Forethought, yeah, cognition, not much behavior. And intentionality, it's also cognition. But when you have an intention, and when you exercise self-reactiveness, you take an action, that there's behavior. This is where action happens. So this is a behavioral process. Then you go back to cognitive process. So it is a never-ending cycle. And I claim that this triadic reciprocal causation is depicted in this habit model. So the beauty of habit model is that this depicts the dynamics along with these 4 core features of agency. So when I explain the 4 core features of agency, I oftentimes ask this question. Suppose that you are a secret agent and think about a situation where the very important building, it could be White House, would be bombed in the next 48 hours. What will you do as a secret agent who needs to prevent it from happening? So people talk about different scenarios and think about, talk about the actions to take. All those steps that the secret agent will take involve those 4 core features of agency. And here there are micro circles or cycles here, right? So the 4 core features of agency can be applied at the individual level, group, family, team level, organization, nation, and so on. Which I already explained. But Albert Bandura conceptualized different types of or modes of agency. So there's personal agency, proxy agency, collective agency, and I will explain it in more detail in future slides. And these are some of the clues how this can be relevant to career development, leadership development, and organization development. Here, another component of human agency theory of Bandura is that he proposed that there are 3 different environments. The first is imposed environment. That's the environment that is given, already given to you. Once let's say you chose a school, yes, probably you've chosen a college to get in, and that would be a selective environment at the beginning, but that soon becomes imposed environment. And then you may think about another environment, because if you are not satisfied with the current environment, you can select another environment, maybe to find a job or to go to pursue a higher level of education. Or you can create your own company or your own network or your sounding board. That would be a created environment. Some people like North Korean defectors, they select, they exit the nation to be in a new environment. That would be, I think, selected environment. But among them, some of those create a company, then that would be a created environment. So there are different agentic ways to interact with the environment. This is a really good conceptual framework to think about when you are stuck. And this can be applied to individuals as well as groups and organizations. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. So there are 3 different modes of agency. The personal agency is to exercise your human agency to achieve what you desire, your own to pursue your own personal goals and so on. Proxy agency is to achieve certain things through others. So it's to utilize proxy. So that's a proxy agency. But I also explained that yeah, if you work as a proxy to make certain things happen, that could also be proxy agency. So I relate this to leadership development and also followership. The third one is to exercise collective agency. So as a group, we can strive to achieve common goals and common vision and so on. So that's collective agency. So in summary, human agency can be applied to all different levels of human systems. Then my question to you is, why do we care about this and what's the meaning of it and so on? So I will share some of the research activities that we have been engaged in. And I found some clues. So without knowing some of the evidence, the reason that human agency is important is that this exercise human agency is central to achieving certain important things, achieving your priorities. It could be good for your development, self-renewal, and so on. But without human agency, you may not achieve important things. But the bottom line is that everyone has human agency. But here I will add more layers into it. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this slide is very important, and this study is very important for me at least. So this depicts the results of our qualitative study that was conducted about 13 years ago in Canada and the US. At that time, we surveyed about maybe 1,500 college students. And among them, we chose students with very high perceived barriers to their education, including disability issues, financial issues, relationship issues, things like that. And we chose those ones who have highest level of perceived barriers. But at the same time, we chose those ones who have highest level of hope. Those two do not go very well together, right? But through the interviews, we found that support is the #1 factor that make those individuals to be hopeful despite those challenging situations. Yeah, that was a aha moment for me. So, and even pets can be the source of support, right? So if you have at least one person who give you unconditional support or love, you could be hopeful. And I started to pay attention to the importance of support, not only for career development, but also for organization development. So let me show you how the research direction and theory development direction has evolved. So in another study, Doctors Niles, Amundsen, and myself developed hopeful career state measure. The reason was that at that time we were conducting a study with involving Syrian refugees, and it was funded by Canadian government. And we were thinking of exploring a different measure that can indicate the outcome of an intervention, hope action theory-based intervention, and that can differentiate ours from other typical interventions. And typically in employment situations, people pay attention to employment rate or placement rate. We were thinking there could be a better measure that can indicate the success. And yeah, this hopeful career state is what we came up with. So we used this scale at 9 months after the completion of the intervention. And as you can see, we wanted to see whether those ones who have gone through our program are hopeful about their career in general, whether they think that they have a better career opportunities currently. So the hopeful career state is about the current state, and whether they feel that they are gaining necessary skills and experiences for the future, and whether they are perceiving the current career as an important step in their career journey, and so on. Interestingly, we saw that the hope action theory-based intervention affected one's hopeful career state. So those ones who have not gone through our program had significantly lower level of hopeful career state. Those ones who have gone through our program had significantly higher level of hopeful career state. And though the other group did something, they went through a typical employment service. They sought help, and they were helped by professionals. But at 9 months, the employment rate was similar between the experimental group participants and control group. But the real difference was with hopeful career state, a psychological difference. And that in turn contributed to their work engagement, and that in turn affected job satisfaction. This was an aha moment, and that's where I decided to keep working on hopeful career state. Let me go back to the previous slide here. So this is another evidence of hope affecting other outcomes in academic setting. Hope and hopeful career state are slightly different. I will not get into it today, but as you can see, hope affected student engagement, which in turn affected GPA and vocational identity. So here, I was thinking that there's some relationship between hope and engagement. Probably that makes sense, right? So if you're hopeful about the current situation, then probably you would be more engaged in whatever you are doing. Then you will have a better outcome. So those were all of the clues that I have been having, and I have been active in the field of career development, which is mainly focused on individuals' development and success. But I'm at the same time, I have at the same time background in leadership development and organization development. I teach in the workforce education development program and OD&C program. So my perspective is a bit broader than focusing on individuals. So recently, I was able to link what I've been doing in terms of theory development and the hopeful career state measure. So as you can see on the left-hand side, you can see three modes of agency: collective agency, proxy agency, personal agency. And yeah, frontline workers and actually all employees exercise personal agency. But supervisors, particularly, or leaders, exercise proxy agency because they get things done through others. And organizations exercise collective agency. So my hypothesis is that those agentic practices would affect hopeful career state, that which will affect, in turn affect work engagement, which will in turn affect job satisfaction, decrease of turnover intention, and test performance. This is highly linear process, linear model. So I call it as agentic human resource development process model or theory. So it's AHRDP. And I have some evidence. Actually, we have there are a group of people who have been working in this direction and working on multiple projects utilizing this concept. So I'm gonna share with you some evidence. So here, here OCS represents organization career support. That would indicate collective agency, and HCS is hopeful career state. So the arrows mean whether, how, maybe, yeah, not whether, OCS affecting HCS. So this means the influence. And this one is HCS affecting work engagement and work engagement affecting JES. So what I want to highlight here is that we found the PSS, by the way, is perceived supervisor support. So OCS represents collective agency, PSS represents proxy agency. So in this study, we didn't explore personal agency, but we explored collective agency and proxy agency. And if you are a scholar or if you are in the field, you've heard about work engagement or employee engagement a lot. But maybe because hopeful career state is a new measure or new term, people have not been focusing on hopeful career state. But what I would like to highlight is that the effect of hopeful career state as a mediator between PSS and JS and OCS and JS, for example, is higher than work engagement. So here, we can take a look at indirect effects. This is 0.103, and the next one representing work engagement is 0.056. So obviously, the mediating role of HCS is greater than work engagement. So our research team maintains that work engagement, the effect of work engagement has been overestimated. And the reason that we are thinking is that researchers have not controlled for age. There is a age component. Anyway, so I will not get into it in detail, but through this study, we confirmed the path that I just shared with you, and also confirmed the important role that HCS plays. This is a study led by Isa Balush. We try to find out helping and hindering factors of nurses during COVID-19. So it was a qualitative study, and we found out different factors that affect hopeful career state, and we've at the same time identified different agents who can play the role. So there are roles that individuals play, family and friends play, teams play, organizations and society can also play. So I'm just sharing with you about different evidence and different line of study around agentic human resource development. Yeah, related to career development, leadership development, organizational development. Yeah, do not try to take a look at it very carefully because it will be confusing. So what I wanted to share with this slide is that this is the study conducted by Ho Sung Yu. Maybe he's here now, but he's one of our doctoral students. This was his master's paper, and he did meta-analysis to try to find the link between transformational leadership and work engagement. And he wanted to find the strongest mediator between those two. And what he found was that need satisfaction is the strongest mediator of all. What that means is that if leaders try to satisfy the employees' needs, not necessarily just related to work, but yeah, autonomy, competence, relatedness, or different psychological needs, then it is likely that they would be more engaged. But one research direction he said was that maybe we can put hopeful career state between need satisfaction and work engagement. So this is another research direction. And this is another doctoral dissertation done by Dr. Jennifer Park. And this is a different structure than I shared with you. So she separated, she created segments. So first starting with collective agency, then personal agency, then she put proxy agency as outcome variables. So I'm just sharing this with you. If you are a researcher, this can give you some ideas. But for practitioners, this will be interesting, and this will be the highlight of my presentation for today. This is what I'm pursuing right now based on the HRDP model. And as the Vice President of Talent and Organizational Development, and I started the job about 10 days ago, or 2 weeks ago. I just completed my 2 weeks with the project in mind. And what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks was to assess employees' level of hopeful career state. And I was also listening to all different levels of employees, including executives and the frontline employees as well. And I just sent out a survey to all employees. But this time I did the survey a bit differently. So the purpose of survey is to capture the overall state of the organization, but at the same time, my core goal is to provide feedback to those executives who will attend the workshop, a series of training programs. So what I've been doing with the individuals, including those training participants and their subordinates, was to get them ready for feedback. Right? So if they don't provide honest answers, then those leaders will not receive quality feedback. And also in the assessment tool, like a survey, I created the open-ended questions that asks all participants to share the target evaluatees' strengths and challenges. So in order to do that, I had to convince them that confidentiality will be respected, and also I had to communicate and convince them that I'm here to develop the organization, develop their leaders, and to make their work life more hopeful. And so those 2 weeks were spent to create a relationship, to earn their trust, and so on. So to me, that's OD effort, organizational development effort. But capturing their ideas, their responses will be linked to leadership development, right? So because they will be attending a training program, and they will I will act as a coach as well for those executives. So that's leadership development. But if they their behaviors change, and if they exhibit participatory leadership, then their organization will change. So that's a OD effort as well, organization development effort. It's a participatory approach, and one of the assessment tools that I included is supervisors' perceived values oriented towards organization development values, which I will briefly explain it. So the core intervention that I'm planning for that training program is to turn the training program into action learning plus coaching. So they will get to learn about different new roles of their leaders, new roles of leaders, themselves as leaders, and new ways to engage employees. And then if you're familiar with action learning, you know that there will be a project or multiple projects. My approach to action learning typically is to give individual projects as well as team projects. So those executives, 35 executives and senior leaders will be grouped into different teams. And then those teams will identify important issues, organizational issues, and they will work on those. And also they will identify their own units issues so that they can practice career coaching with their employees. And at the same time, what I plan to do is to periodically monitor and follow up on the progress. So what I shared with all employees, including those participants, was that there will be multiple surveys, at least 4 times, using similar items. And at the end of the program, there will be a session where the leaders share their progress and future plans to employees. So what I plan to do is to live stream their presentations to their employees. That's quite backward compared to what they are used to. So I'm hopeful that this will initiate some change. And to share some background info, like I said, there will be assessment feedback. And these are some sample measures that I'm using. I probably omitted maybe 1 or 2 from here, but the measures in this chunk are related to individuals. That could be related to career development, mainly career development. And the next chunk is about, so the first chunk is about themselves, those respondents, so that the leaders can understand, those training participants, executives can understand how their employees feel. This is like organization engagement survey. And the second chunk is about how they, the participants, the survey participants, perceive their organization, their supervisors. So the results of this chunk will be shared with the training participants or supervisors so that they can think about the future course of action. And this will be a periodic assessment. So they will receive feedback periodically. The next chunk is about their organizational career support, which I will show you what it looks like. Yeah, this is about perceived supervisor values, right? So this is aligned with organization development values. We recently, with Cesar Padilla and Sasha Foley, we turned OD values assessment for OD practitioners into a assessment for leaders. So we have a 71 item measure that can give really good ideas regarding how leaders can be more participatory. So if you are curious about what this is about, maybe in the OD&C webinar series website, you will be able to find my presentation with SCTHA on OD values. And I talked about organizational career development practices for collective agency. So yeah, we have another scale that encompasses, that depicts these 35 different HR practices that can help employee career development. So because of time constraints, I will not get into details, but these are organizational practices or ideas, multiple 35 ideas for employee career development integration. So if you're curious about this model, you can take a look at this book chapter. And if you're a researcher, you may want to visit this website, sites.psu.edu/ACLOT, Agentic Career Leadership Organization Development. And you will be able to find some publications and some of our team members and some of our activities and so on. So now, yeah, we are getting into a Q&A session. I see that there are some entries in the chat. Let me read. Let's see. Sustainable work environment. Okay. Yeah, sustainable work environment. Sometimes I could add more explanation to it, but this is not a jargon. Probably I just put in the content there. So the sustainable work environment in my mind was that the work environment that will not collapse. So through my interviews, I've noticed that some units and people in some units are feeling that there is no bright future in their unit or organization. And to me, that's not a sustainable work environment. So it may be a synonym of work environment that's filled with hope that will make employees stay in the organization. All right, so other questions. You can type your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Yuan. Actually, I was thinking about the same thing. I saw a lot of familiar faces like Brian, Hosong, Isa, Imi, and Halima here, and also many of you here. So I'm thinking that here we want to invite you to unmute yourself and turn on the video and maybe just introduce a little bit about yourself, what drawn you to this session, and also what, if you take Dr. Yuan's courses before, what we end with the course always is from the self-reflection. So if you can reflect upon what you learned today, and also how can you apply this agentic model to your current work, your life, or the practices, they will be very help with this social community learning.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Ling. Yeah, any reflection would be appreciated. And to summarize, what I tried to convey was that yeah, we are in the field of organization development, human resource development, or career development, and so on. It's all about development. And for that, a simple model can handle them all. So that was the main message. And also typically practitioners think about career development separately, leadership development separately, and organization development separately. There are different sets of expertise that you can use. But yeah, you can massage all together and create one intervention, integrating all those and create multiple impacts for employees. That will be career development. For organization, it will be organizational health and development and so on, and leadership development, things like that.
Hey, Marcia.
Hi, my name's Marisha Rollins. Thank you for the session today. I just had one question. One thing that comes to mind, and as you go through the presentation and what I'm looking at, and just I'm currently not at Penn State, but I did apply for the organizational development certificate and was accepted. I'm just looking at that.
Congratulations.
Yes. Well, that's a different topic, and we could talk about that. But one thing that comes to mind about what you're presenting around the model and career hopefulness and all of that, I have seen that people are planning on using technology to help in career mobility and movement, and also hoping that that's going to drive retention, satisfaction. And I've seen a few different tools, and I just wondered if you have a perspective on that. It seems to me, just like AI too, that everything is moving very quickly, and things are changing very quickly. I saw 2 demos recently, and not that I think, one is necessarily better than the other, but I do think that technology is going to be driving this, and organizations are going to be looking for solutions to try to use the technology to help them with it. So I would just see what your reaction is.
Right. So yeah, I'm pretty technology savvy, and I know some tools, but I cannot say I'm highly up to date. But I would say I cannot name some tools, but what I would say from the perspective of what I presented is that if there is a technological tool that will make the feedback process automated. For example, when I get into an organization, I also played a consultant role for another organization, took a similar approach as a researcher. Now my real role is executive and also consultant. So it's the different role. But what I wish I had is that if the survey and feedback process and report generation process is automated, then there can be a lot more change happening at the same time, because the data collection, analysis, report generation, and feedback process, so all those, because those are manually done, I cannot create change at multiple places at the same time. So I think yeah, if there can be an assessment system that can be customized to organizations' needs and leaders' needs and so on, and also the report generation can be automated, that would be a game changer. Yeah, but I haven't seen that yet, and I think many platforms, including Qualtrics, probably are moving toward it. I saw some of the features, but yeah, we are not there yet.
Yeah, one thing I'll share is we've, where I'm currently working is we use something called Cornerstone on Demand for our performance platform. And they recently introduced this new, I want to say it's called Opportunity Marketplace. It's quite interesting. And then there's another one too. But again, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were around, because I think the technology can definitely be beneficial,
right?
Especially if I think you're trying to get to like scale. But I also think that the conversations, the follow-up, those things are very invaluable, because as much as the data is great to have with the surveys and you need it, I also think that the conversations, you get those nuances that you wouldn't necessarily get in the survey.
Right. Yeah, conversations would be very, very important, and that would be a critical role that the leaders would play these days, because employees are looking for meaning in their work, and without conversation, meaning cannot be created easily. It cannot be automated. It needs to be processed, and for that, conversation is crucial. And you talked about opportunity marketplace. That would be a similar concept as internal labor market system. So if you look, because this will be recorded, if you can go back to the presentation and look at those 35 different employer career development interventions, you will see different ideas. And all those ideas can be developed into technological tools. Right? So there are a lot of ideas that can be done through technology.
Yeah. So they could really be customized based on what the direction the leadership felt was important, or what they got from surveying the employees. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Nice to be in this session today.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. And I got the question from Lubosi. Have you considered how grit is connected to human agency and hope? So grit could be another term for human agency, but human agency I would say is a bit more broader than grit. So grit to me is similar to resilience, but human agency can be a bit more active. Human agency can be passive as well as highly creative and active. So I talked about different types of environment, right? Imposed environment, selected environment, the creative environment. Grit, in my point of view, and also from what I read through those illustrations given, those people who were studied for grit had similar goals and were in similar settings, and they had to work hard to achieve what they are envisioning. But those illustrations didn't have creation of something and so on. So I think the creativity portion is lacking in grit, but human agency also encompasses creativity. Human agency is all about making things happen, and those ways to make things happen doesn't matter. So from that perspective, yeah, human agency involves grit. And hope, Snyder is the most well-known person for hope theory. And according to Snyder, there are three components: goals, pathways thinking, and agents thinking. So you've heard from me about the 4 core features of human agency. I would match goals with intentionality, pathways thinking with forethought. Pathways thinking, by the way, is your ability to think about different ways to achieve things. So that could be forethought. And agency thinking is about agency and implementing. So to me, hope is also agency, if you look at those components of hope. So, and also I shared hope action theory, and all of the components in hope action theory can be explained by human agency. So I personally think human agency theory is a meta theory for career development, leadership development, and organizational development, and human resource development in general.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yoon.
Yeah.
Because of time, then maybe we can have one more question, or we have to close here.
Okay.
Any burning question here?
Yeah, or burning reflection.
If not, then you can always contact our webinar team or contact our presenter directly via email. And thank you so much, Dr. Yoon, for sharing this wonderful application theoretical foundation for this agentic model. We know these years of work to put all of this together is amazing. And on behalf of our OD&C and Workforce Education Program, we hope you think this webinar is helpful. If you did not get to your question, please send us an email and also reach out to the presenter today directly via email. For our future webinar, we would like to hear your feedback for today's webinar. So please take a survey using the link in the chat box. Our next webinar is about onboarding to win. Yeah, our next webinar. So it will be on June 23rd from 12 to 1 p.m. Registration for all events are free, and you can find us on our website and also the social media, including Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon. Thank
Thank you, everyone.